And the
Special meeting has been called to order, even though we're one council person. We're gonna still get started. City manager will give us a presentation on Litchfield Park Heritage Partners LLC Development Agreement and Subordination Agreement. Yes, sir. Your city manager.
Mayor and council, this is an item we've been discussing several times for the last few meetings. So sorry that this just got added. We got it back earlier this week and wanted to go ahead and get it on the agenda. So there's two portions of this. There's the actual DA revisions and there's the subordination documents. So I'll have the mayor actually talk about the subordinate documents. That's more his field than mine. But on the DA changes, so I laid these out in the bullet points in your CC. It does require all the permits to be paid by April 15th, 2025. Obviously, that's in about 2 weeks. One note there. Keith, the city engineer, cannot sign the permit until Liberty signs off. Liberty has not signed off as of yet. So just be aware of it.
The partners met with Liberty today.
Okay, great.
So I believe that's moving forward.
Okay, great. Groundbreaking to begin by May 1, 2025. That is a change. Before it would have been April 15th, so that allows about 2 more weeks. The late fees would be increased to $500 daily after May 1. In the current DA, it talks about 10% of permit fees per month. That would be about $5,057, where this is $500 a day. So obviously monthly, that'd be about $15,000. It does require completion within 18 months from start date. That's the same as in previous documents. The city will now reimburse the developer for the asphalt for Litchfield Square entry between Fairway and Northern Property Line Parcel 4. No big deal there. Before we were paying for the curb and gutter, they want us to pay for the asphalt between the curb and gutter. So that's the main changes as far as the DA. Again, it allows more time. It does increase the late fees. The 18-month clause is in there. So those were all things that we did address. But as you remember, the biggest issue that we had here was reconveyance language. If you'd like to talk about how those were addressed.
Yeah, except that I want to go back to the changes in the DA just so that everybody understands what. So we need to get all these permits issued. And if you get the permits issued, then they can start doing things like dirt work. They can start the dirt work. However, we may not get the permits issued, even though they're going to get paid for. They may not get issued before May 1st if Liberty drags its feet. So what the Litchfield Park Partners are going to do is they're going to pay the extra costs to do the dirt work at risk, meaning they're going to do the dirt work without a permit. So they intend to get started on the dirt work in the next 2 weeks or less, probably.
Without a permit or with an at-risk
Well,
grading permit?
they're going to get an at-risk grading permit.
That's correct.
It means they won't have their final permit because there'll be an issue with Liberty probably not getting it signed off. So they do intend to get construction started before May 1st, even if Liberty is a problem. I just wanted you to understand that. They believe in their schedule that they have internally, according to Freddie, is that the shell will be done within 9 months. So it's gonna go forward at full speed, full speed ahead once they get started. So those are good. I think that's good news. The thing that was the hang up with this, all of these business points were hang ups, but they've been resolved. But the hang up with the bank was the reconveyance issue. And the way that we have it at the DA was that when we would buy it back, we would buy it back with any liens.
What was that?
We would buy it back without any liens. We would not recognize any liens, basically. And since the DA was a recorded document, so the bank was saying, we can't have this language in there because we're not going to lend money to these guys if we don't have a first lien. So all of the discussion, I don't want to call it argument, the discussion that's been going on for probably close to a month has been about that issue. And what I finally said was, look, we as a city, we have to understand that the bank's not going to lend money on this project without the first lien. I mean, we're being naive if we think the bank's going to do that. So we need to drop that demand. And so that's what the subordination agreement basically does. It says that if there's a default, the default basically is that they don't get the project done in 18 months. So the likelihood of this default is very small. But if they default, and if we take the property back, we're gonna take the property back, recognizing that the bank has the first lien for its, the things that they have funded under their loan. So that's what the subordination document does. It simply takes us to what is reality. The reality is the bank's not gonna loan money if it doesn't have first lien. And the city, is not gonna get around it. Which is fine, because the bank is requiring, the bank's gonna lend about 50% of the cost of building this building. The partners have to put in the other 50% upfront cash. So that money has to be spent before they get any construction draws. So if there's some sort of default, the amount of money that's owed to the bank, even if there's default interest and default charges, is gonna be less than the money that's been invested to build the building. So the city's not gonna get itself in a problem. I think it's a huge risk. So that's what the subordination agreement does.
I have one question. So the agreement, it sounded like they're funding personally the first part of it by themselves. And then after that piece is purchased or funded and construction takes place, if they were to default without getting the bank to also fund, what happens right then?
Well,
Like, what if they don't?
So all these agreements are separate.
Mhm.
So the default under the development agreement would happen because they don't finish it within 18 months. Then there's a default under the development agreement, which gives us the right to take the property. We have the right just to take it back. We don't have to buy it back. We just take it back. When we take it back, whatever lien that the bank has on it because of money that they have actually dispersed, that lien will be prior to our ownership rights. So we're subject to that lien.
Only if they have funded part of the loan, though.
Correct.
Okay.
Whatever they have funded. If they haven't funded anything, then they have no priority. Their priority isn't worth anything if they haven't funded anything. But if they have funded something, then that the bank has a prior right on the property prior to our ownership. And so then we would have to deal with the bank.
I have one more question, but I think I will wait until you're finished with the.
I'm done.
Okay, my question is, it has been a very long time in coming. Is there say they don't start on May 1st? Whatever happens, at what point do we say, we've had enough, we've worked through all of this, you haven't performed, we're going to take the property back? Is there a point, I feel like,
I mean, at some point, there is, but they're gonna be incurring $500 a day penalty. But think through what all this means. So they have spent way more than $1 million buying the property. They have 2 million?
Between the land
Well,
and
they bought more than $1 million buying the property. This is out of their own pocket. It's not borrowed money, but out of their pocket. They've spent more than $1 million buying the property. They've spent $300,000 or $400,000 getting all of the architectural drawings done so they can get the permits. They have already ordered and financially are obligated to buy all of the steel that's in this building. They have already ordered and already are financially obligated to pay for all of the electrical panels and anything else that they think is long lead time. So literally they have several $1 million of their own money already spent on this project. They're not walking away from this. This isn't gonna be where we just can't get it started. I mean, they're gonna get it going. But financially, they just can't, they're not gonna, I don't think it's a realistic concern.
well,
I'm just saying.
with all respect, I think it is a realistic concern. Like, just like the bank isn't going to let somebody else take the priority over their reconveyance language, I think that if not this, we should have some sort of plan in place so that we can not just play it by ear, and if we need to take it back, I mean, I feel like.
Matthew, that's part of the DA that we didn't amend. I'm sure there's language in there that if they don't get started on time, that's a breach also, and we can take the property back.
Yes, sir. We can take it back if they don't do anything, we can take it back. It's just a matter of council voting to do so, and obviously the politics of doing that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I understand that
We
it's
have a
not
step.
something that we want to do. I want them to be successful, but I also want to think through the possibility that maybe I think
Yeah,
it would
we
be,
have, literally, we have thought through that from, in terms of staff conversations at staff level. That has been thought through and it has been said to the partners, if you don't get this started, then you're gonna put the council in the spot. I told them, I'm not gonna go to the council and ask for any more extensions, and you got a likelihood the council's gonna wanna take the property back. So understand, that this is it. This, literally, this change that we're making here is the last time that we're gonna give you a combination for not doing what you say you're gonna do. So that has been told to them, and we have the right to do it.
okay. Okay,
So it's just, I don't believe it's gonna happen, just, but
And I mean, y'all had a meeting a week or so ago, a week or so ago, everything hinged around the worst case scenario. And y'all came out of that meeting, and this is, what I hear from my, associates, is that the negotiation happened. Bank lawyers got with our lawyers, the bank lawyers got with their lawyers, got with our lawyers, and everybody came out of the negotiation, and their attitude has fully changed. It's, hey, now we have something plausible. We're comfortable with this. We're gonna start building the building. And that's a month ago at the council meeting, or whatever, 3 weeks ago at the council meeting, it was not that way, but the meetings have happened since then that have changed their attitude. And then I fully agree with what the way the mayor just explained it is exactly how I heard about it, before I heard about it here.
okay.
So-
I just hope that you take my concerns seriously,
No,
because
I do.
I
mean,
mean,
it's not-
I'm bringing them to you because other people have those concerns too.
we have the right, if they don't meet their obligations under the DA, not the part that we have, we just made the amendment. But if they don't get started now under these amended, guidelines, we have the right, we can take the project back now. It's just, one of the things that has been true as we've gone through all this thing with them is that there wasn't like a huge demand for this lot. It's like people are coming in and saying, God, if you could just get this property back, we'll buy it and, we'll buy it back from you and we'll do a building. So there wasn't like another path that would make any, that made sense to say, we'll just take it back now. I mean, we've held that over their heads to try to keep them moving. But it didn't make sense for us to take it back. Okay. We're at the spot now where, because we have a second builder, we need to get one of these things going. Because the game, everything about the game of this, getting this thing going, the project to be successful, it all changes when we get the first building starting construction becomes very important. So it's not that we didn't have ways to enforce draconian measures against them in the past. It's just that it didn't seem like it made any sense to do it. It's gotten to be more sense as we've gotten further down this path with these last dates. Because I was tired of basically going out and telling people that this thing is gonna happen. And I made it very clear to them that I wasn't gonna do that again. Either it happens or I'm gonna recommend to council to take some action. But I don't think we're gonna need to do that. I mean, I believe it's gonna get started.
Okay,
I think you were asking to discuss how we're gonna go about, just get a plan together to go, how we'd go about it if they default. But
that's really what and
that's already been done. It's already in the agreements. We figured that all out
Right.
a year and a half ago, when this whole structure was put together. Because once the trigger hits and we're done with it, it's already all laid out in those agreements.
Yeah.
And just, it's a council just saying, we're done. Then
But I think it's more like if they start construction and then default, and then we could, but I'm saying if we never see any action towards groundbreaking, like what if,
that's in. the-
not in this case, but like, what if we are dealing with another vacant lot for whatever reason? At what point, sorry, Ron, I
No, you're good.
see you over there.
Yeah.
But like, at what point do we say, okay, maybe it's time to fish or cut bait?
But every one will probably be different, depending on how we view the finances of the people, their sincerity, how much work they've done, how much money they've spent, whether they've spent any money or none, trying to move this project forward. If they've done absolutely nothing, spent no money, have no plans, no nothing, then maybe we don't give them any benefit of the doubt. We just cut the strings and go. But if they've spent, a huge amount of money trying to get the plans together, we've approved the plans, they've gone through design review, everything else, and it looks like they're trying to move forward. Maybe we're a little more reasonable. But every project's going to have a different tape on it probably. And part of it will be just, that tape will also be depending on how desperate we think we are to want to have our projects.
And it's about discretion. And
Yeah,
you'll see the language exactly, because the language will be in the DA that will be done with, Rodolfo. So you'll see the language, you'll see what mechanisms are in there. And if you have suggestions or you're not happy with it, we can talk about it.
because Akamaz's DA was done
3 years ago.
a year
Yeah.
or something. Yeah.
Several years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. And
3 years ago?
Yeah, we went through a lot of, working with the prior city attorney, trying to figure out just what this whole process was going to look like. And what would happen if somebody did default, trying to build it into those documents.
Right, and literally we had, because this property was sold to Acamazo before we had done anything. I mean, literally, we just had dirt out there, there were no streets, there was nothing. The trigger for them to get started literally was based upon when we got finished.
Right.
And so we just got finished. So the triggers in terms of them having to get started, are just now coming due. So it's not like there's been a lot of time lapse where we just let them be in default, because they haven't been in default. Because we just got done, and then there was because we agreed to sell them, originally we only sold them one half of the land. The other half, we wanted to build a parking lot on. Bank didn't like that, so they had to buy the second half. In the agreement for when they bought the second half, then the time for them to start construction, I think, was 180 days. After they
closing.
After they were able to get the two lots put together as one lot. Okay, so that 180 days literally just ran.
It's April 15th.
So they haven't been in default.
So really, the city was the one delaying all of this.
Yes.
But you can understand
they've been
why
very
the
reasonable.
perception is that nothing is happening out there. That's the problem.
If you look at this from the outside,
Yes, but
Then
which
nobody-
all of our citizens are.
then they don't see, they can see all the infrastructure been built, but they don't understand that start of construction, while it could have happened earlier, it didn't have to start until the construction was done. And the point that they made, and they made it since the first time we met, was that we don't want to end up opening a building while you're still building. Excuse me. We don't want to open our building if you're not done. So we want to be able to have flexibility, so we don't have to start until we know you're done, because we can't be successful in this building, we can't put tenants in here, and you're building next door, whatever,
No
so,
roads.
yeah, no roads or whatever. So, I mean, yes, from the outside, you say, well, what's happened? Well, what's happened is we did all the infrastructure. And now that it's done, now you're gonna see building. So. And if you had been our CIO earlier, then you could have fixed this for us.
You guys did that one on your own.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
On future DAs, should we have, it sounds like we have a penalty if we don't start by a certain date and a penalty if we don't finish by a certain date. Should there be benchmarks within that window for things getting done, for someone getting started and then abandoning the project and we have to wait 18 months?
I mean, I guess there could be something.
I think there's some language that says they must reasonably proceed once they start.
To make reasonable progress.
That's right. Yeah, I think that language is built in there.
That's right.
And 18 months was picked just because of building time, and particularly at the time when we negotiated this, we were still dealing with COVID.
Sure.
So you didn't really know how long it would take to build something.
Steel was 12 months out at one point. Just getting steel floor trusses and roof trusses. Because there's only a couple of plants that were making them. So you need to get those in way early. those SES electrical panels, those are almost impossible to find at one point. People were going out to old abandoned buildings and trying to buy them off of that building, then rebuilding them for new projects. It was
We had a-
difficult.
We had some sort of cement thing that went in the sewer system out there somehow. Couldn't get it. And it wasn't a matter, well, what do you mean, we got a sewer? Doesn't matter, can't get it. It took at least a year and a half.
It did.
So, I mean, it was crazy. Sure. You had a question?
So the 18-month timeline, that's shell and on-site improvements, no TI improvements.
No TIs. Shit.
You know, purposes of telling people what's happening, they have to put the building up in 18 months. We don't know what's gonna happen on the inside. That's up to them.
That's correct.
It's gonna get started. Does this subordination agreement, you know, the language that we're putting in now, is it going to satisfy all future lenders? By allowing, you know, are we gonna run into the same problem again?
Yeah, the idea was we shouldn't.
So, I mean, the lawyers seem to agree on the bank side that, hey, you know, our bank agrees. We generally think that most banks will agree.
We all,
And the other,
when we drafted it, that was one of the goals.
the other thing on timeline, when did Liberty provide sewer capacity? Because that held up construction all over the West Valley. There was no sewer capacity for anything. That, you know, so even if we were done, there was permits held up for warehouses, homes all over the west side because Liberty had no sewer capacity. I think that was only solved last September, maybe October.
Well, last year was the water pressure issue. It was the year before that when there was the sewer issue. I'm thinking it was May of '23 when the sewer issue was resolved. I'm just top of my head, but I think it was May of '23.
I
I think it was 24.
I think it was 24. Yeah, I mean,
24, I think.
We-
Well, the water
And
pressure
they
we
issue
couldn't-
last summer.
It's the plant they
We-
built along the
we-
freeway.
They would not hook up our system.
Yeah.
For a while. So, I mean, even though we had nothing going into it.
There were a lot of things that went into why this thing was delayed, and it's not
It's
necessarily them just sitting on it. I mean, there were a lot of components that were beyond their control, beyond our control, Liberty being one of them.
Yes.
I mean, Liberty, they, just be
Bad
quiet.
faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're very difficult.
And they only built most of the capacity in that new facility they were building as of a couple of years ago was almost all spoken for.
It was
There
all
a teeny bit
spoken.
left.
That's
It's
correct.
all, you know, and so, I mean, they were getting nowhere. I mean, they were just.
We didn't make
playing
any
way
progress.
catch up.
Yes,
Mr. City Manager, and the good news is in 2 weeks from now, we should be seeing a DA, correct? For the next law?
That's correct, sir.
So we'll get to look at this in 2 weeks from now for the.
we will. So is there any more
To
discussion
reconvey
about the amendments to the current DA and subordination agreement? If not, then is there a motion to approve entering into those agreements? Is there a second? Any further discussion?
I appreciate you indulging me in all those questions. Thank you.
Absolutely. You need to ask every question you have, and that's true of everybody on the council. If you are asked, if you're being put in a position where you have to vote and we haven't at least attempted to hear your questions and answer them, respond as much as we can, then, you know, it's not fair to you.
And you've got a massive amount of catch up. We've got years of trying to go through this thing, doing these DAs, negotiating. So,
Yeah.
I mean, to expect you to understand this thing with great detail is impossible. I mean, nobody can.
There's a lot of background.
These questions are extremely important because he and I could get hit by a truck tomorrow and you guys are on your own.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm not getting hit by that truck.
I guess just the point of clarification that the mayor said, no more extensions.
I told him, yeah. I
Okay.
think Matthew was with me when
That's
I
right.
told him that. I said, I'm not doing this again. I mean, we're gonna get a set of dates, we're gonna do this amendment, and this is it.
And it's written in the agreement.
Well, it's in the
Didn't I-
agreement, you know, the trouble, and that, you know, it's like it was, when they were late on the 180-day deadline. Not real late, but they were late.
Right.
So I could have come and said, why don't we just need to take the property back from you. Okay, I don't think that was a good idea, but I could have done that. Okay, but I didn't. What I came to you and said, and what I said in the community is, they've told me they're gonna start by this date. The last date, I think, was January 1st. And it didn't happen. Okay, so then I was pissed. So we had another little meeting and said, I'm not gonna do this again. It's, we're gonna come up with a date. It's gotta be realistic. And if you can't, if you don't do it, then then there could well be consequences. Depends on what the council wants to do. So.
Call for the question.
All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve the amendment to the development agreement for Heritage Partners, Litchfield Park Heritage Partners, and approve the subordination agreement with UMB Bank, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, oh,
That wasn't the motion to approve this UMB subordination agreement.
It was
That's a
both.
separate item on the agenda.
It's all together on my agenda. Like, if you want to do it separately, we can do that, but it's just one thing.
It can be the two items together. It's no issue.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think they
well
can be
then-
done together.
Then I have a conflict and I can't vote for it. I
'Cause of
can't vote for
UMB. All right, let's do it separately. Is there a motion to approve the second amendment to the LP Heritage Partners LLC Development Agreement? Second. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Is there a motion to approve the subordination agreement with the UMB Bank, understanding that the vice mayor has declared a conflict and he will not participate in the voting? Is there a motion? Second. Someone moved over here? Okay, great. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
Abstain.
show that was a 6-0 with one abstention. All right. I don't know if there's any need for an executive session. No, sir. So, we're adjourned. We have no further business. We're adjourned.